Hello, I'm Dale Matthews, and welcome to our show. Joining me, as usual, is Mike Jones. It's real special.
It's, yes, I'm wondering if we're going to have to get you back on your meds there because you almost forgot what my name was.
What's that? Who are you? Okay, so
Yeah. Yes.
we have in the past, as you know, it was a very popular show. We showed what Dan DeYoung and Roy Lindsay and Mayor Darren Fowler think about you. But we didn't do it as one of our Sunday or Wednesday, because they're new, parts where you could vote. Okay, so we thought what we'd do is we'd take the same general topic, which is Grants Pass City Council, and that we would concentrate on the statements that were made that people aren't interested in law enforcement, and that's why they didn't vote for the sales tax. Mike?
Yes, that has to be the reason.
Right, because they're not at all interested in law enforcement. So what we did before was we played Darren Fowler saying that the people are idiots or whatever it was that he said, and then played, that they had no good reasons for anything. And then we played their really good reasons, and then we went back, and then we went again, and then we went back to him, and then went to more video. This time it's mostly Dan DeYoung, who's the council president, the Grants Pass City Council president, who came up with the conclusion. Well, let's see what his conclusion is, Mike.
Okay.
Government officials, when in actuality, they're not really interested in getting the foundation for most communities of safety.
Really?
The first part of that was cut off. He says people are
blaming.
Right.
We may have a delay here. That happens occasionally, and it seems like, are they talking to each other? Yes, we are. Okay. Yeah, he was saying basically that well, they're trying to blame us. The citizens are trying to blame us for an 80% blowout. Yeah, you do deserve some of the blame, and it's because they're just not interested in public safety. Not interested in public safety? What are you saying? Okay, so let's see what one of those people has to say.
I want to point out the Chamber of Commerce supports public safety. We worked really hard in the last 2 ballot elections to get the public safety measures passed. It's really important to us. It's important to our businesses. I support the idea of giving the juvenile justice system open. I think that's a terrific idea. I think it'll help alleviate a lot of the pressure. I don't support the idea of you taking a $3 million debt, and that's what you're asking to do. I was a little tiny business person. We did $2 million a year in our business, and if you'd asked me to take on $20,000 in debt, I would have questioned that. The city is now asking you to take on $3 million in additional debt by passing this.
Now, she's Colleen Martin from the Chamber of Commerce. Has there been any more loyal supporter of every single property tax that's come down the road?
I don't know, because I have limited experience with Colleen Martin and her opinion on tax levies, but I'll take your word for it, Dale.
The Grants Pass Chamber of Commerce. Yeah, they're always backing that kind of thing. They're usually on the other side from many people who watch the show. Not everybody, but usually on the other side. So for Dan DeYoung, the council president, to say, well, people didn't vote for this Grants Pass sales tax because they don't really want public safety. Colleen Martin, the Chamber of Commerce. Next clip, please.
I don't know that the city is aware of the implications that sales tax has, the back end of it. First of all, you're going to have somebody to police it. On top of that, you're going to have something to the equivalent of the State Board of Equalization that polices it and follows up on accounting. They handle the fines if somebody doesn't. On top of that, you've got the audit process. In California, you've got the State Board of Equalization that'll say, we don't agree with this first quarter filing. And you go, well, that's what I have. Oh, well, we'll just run an audit. The business has to pay the accountant for the audit. So all along the way, it's just bad, bad, bad.
Oh, that's a stupid reason.
Yeah, they don't have any good reasons. Now, this guy was talking about the other kind of policing, because who's going to do that?
Right. Yeah, it's and so then what'll happen as a result is that part of that $3 million overage will have to go into the policing aspect of it. You're going to have this little bureaucracy that then regulates all this kind of stuff. It's an inevitability, you can't get by without that. So ultimately then they are getting less money coming in. What's the very first thing they're going to do when they realize, oh, there's less money coming in because we have to pay for this arm? Well, they're going to have to raise your sales tax. That's just what you do.
It's part of the formula.
Yes.
Okay, next clip, please.
I mean, that is your foundation. If I'm not safe going to a restaurant, I don't go to that restaurant anymore.
Yeah. Public safety.
Yeah, and you know what? I got in an argument with people on Facebook about this particular thing. And I said, this guy is obviously he's saying that somehow he feels uncomfortable. Oh, no, he's saying if he felt uncomfortable. Okay. Well, what's the point in making that argument if you don't have a specific example to cite? He's saying we need it now. Well, let's see. Why do you need it? Because it's unsafe to go to certain restaurants in the city or county. Okay. If that's the case that you're making, then make that case. But he didn't make that case. He said, well, and he's throwing it out there and he's planting the idea in people's minds that if I'm unsafe going to a specific restaurant or if I'm unsafe going to the county fair, we got to do something about that, and ergo vote for the sales tax.
Well, he's using it as an example. He's not saying, well, there is no unsafe conditions. He's saying, if I feel unsafe, then we're going to need more law enforcement. What's their problem?
Yeah, but the point is that if you're going to make that argument, why not just say, hey, I feel unsafe going to this specific restaurant? You don't have to name the restaurant, but you could say there's a restaurant in town that I go to regularly, and I'm going to stop going there because I'm not safe anymore. He couldn't do that.
No.
Because bottom line is listen, safe is a relative thing. It has to do with feelings. Okay. And in some cases, reality where you're actually accosted or whatever. But generally speaking, most people in the city of Grants Pass, you're pretty safe going to a restaurant. Can we we all agree on that?
As the police chief said, it's all a matter of perception.
Right.
Okay. What is the next person? Go ahead.
Okay. Well, yeah. Listen, you might get food poisoning. That would be one thing that would make you unsafe going to. That is a heck of a lot more likely than something else that Dan finds a problem with. Here's the next clip.
I realize that law enforcement, does need more funds. I just don't think that this is the way to do it. But the city council is trying to appeal to city voters and to make it as enticing as they can by offering to lower other taxes, city taxes, basically so that everybody has to pay the tax. It will be advantageous to certain city residents, but not to everybody else in the world.
So do you think that maybe some people will be doing the math on whether or not they're, how much money they're going to be saving on property taxes, and perhaps basing their vote on that and not necessarily taking into account what it may do to the vitality of the downtown?
That's exactly right. I think some people will sort of look at the short-sighted thing and maybe vote yes, thinking that they're going to save some money on their property taxes, but they're not going to realize that within a few years, the whole nature of downtown might change. There might be half-empty storefronts, and I think in the long run, it is just not a good thing.
Well, you had mentioned at one point something to somebody out on the street about the broken window syndrome. Mm-hmm. Tell us about that, Mike, please.
Well, and that was with when I was speaking to Mark Hutto at J. Austin there. And essentially the broken window rule is that if you break a window, if a window gets broken, doesn't get fixed, it magnetically attracts more broken windows. And so in other words, if you have an empty storefront and as a result the owner has less money and he's not able to or willing to do upkeep, things start looking lesser, and that brings all the other businesses down, and pretty soon you got a ghost town.
Right.
That's how it happens.
That's not good for law enforcement. When there are broken windows and when there's boarded up buildings, because the next thing you know, you've got people inside the boarded up building, or you've just got people saying, this place is going to hell. What difference does it make? Right. What kind of stuff? A vibrant downtown is, well, in one way it could attract more criminals, but mostly one that's run down and poor and destitute is going to attract a lot more of the wrong kind of people.
Yeah, it's kind of like an injured fish in the water or something. It attracts more of the people that feed on that. But it's interesting because when I was talking to that guy, that gentleman owns the kitchen company down there on 6th Street. And he told me he votes for every one of these property tax levies that comes along. So here's another one of these people who they recognize the threat when it's about to take them out.
But Dandy Young over my shoulder has an opinion about this guy and about you and about me, and that we're not interested in law enforcement, Mike.
Yeah, well, okay. But the basis of his argument is that there is no other way to do it than the way that the city council has proposed. In other words,
the way the staff has proposed to the city council, who bought it hook, line, and sinker.
Good point. Good point. So, that's what this thing is. This is an ego problem for many of the people on the city council. Oh, these people are so stupid. We laid out this perfect thing. We did all this work and showed you how wonderful this was going to be, and you just couldn't recognize it. It's too bad you're so dumb. Either that or your intent is not to be in favor of law enforcement. You're probably in favor of,
chaos.
Chaos or rats or, I mean, there's a long list that we've heard from politicians in the past couple of years that if you don't see the greater wisdom that they've laid before you, then you are, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, name, whatever ratty thing they're going to say about you here.
Ratty. And we're not ratty. Just picking words at random. It was Dennis Weber of the Parkway Christian Center that said that there were people in favor of chaos. It was Cheryl Walker of County Commissioner fame who was saying basically that people are in favor of rats.
Yeah, and this is somehow the idea that you're going to get people to do what you want them to do by shaming them. And Cheryl Walker does this constantly. It wasn't just a few weeks back that she says, well, if you don't vote for the sales tax or if you don't vote for the levy or blah, 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 whatever it is, the tax du jour, then you're going to get the same result. And, listen, maybe this is the result that people want. Okay. Because, they are voting for it. Okay. So if people want less money to go to law enforcement, or in this particular case, they don't want a sales tax to destroy the business district downtown. Well, then that's just kind of the way it is. Why don't you just make do with what you have? I don't think it's horrible, the situation that Grants Pass has right now. Their police force seems to be pretty darn efficient. I think the issue that they might say is that we don't have enough money to prosecute enough people or keep enough people in jail long enough.
Because of those stupid voters out in the county.
Right, the stupid voters out in the county. Well, the people out in the county don't want to listen. When 80% of the crime takes place in the city, who do you think should pay for 80% of the jail beds?
Well, what did 80% of the voters of Grants Pass say? No.
Well, right. Yes. In this particular case, 80% of them. So, you know what? These politicians in this town and in this county, they can't lose, or I mean, they can't win.
Which is it now? Make up your mind.
They can't win. That's what it is.
All right. Now,
I went back and examined what I said, and I found that was the correct.
And he was humble about it. Did you notice that? Humble. He admitted he had made. Listen.
Yes, I admitted that I made a mistake. That's another thing that these politicians cannot do for some reason.
Now, you have a chance to tell them what you think about them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's right over here. You have a chance to say, well, so far, I'm slightly perturbed, or I'm not very happy about this, or I'm pretty danged unhappy. Dang.
And if you want your politicians to burn in hell.
Too late.
I'm just kidding, okay?
Yes, he's just kidding. Right, me too. Yeah, we're kidding. So as long as Mike had his chance to speak during the purported interview with this guy and telling him what he thinks, I might as well get a chance to weigh in. And here's what I told the judge and the court and the city attorney and the rest of creation about my opinion.
Mm.
One of the things that is a problem with this is that let's suppose that there was an older gentleman, well-to-do in the area, and he always votes for every kind of tax that would keep him safer. He wants to vote to keep the tax for the jail. He wants to vote to keep the tax on his property. He wants to vote to add a sales tax. He can't do that because he needs to make a choice. Do I want to eliminate two things that I want? Or do I want to say yes to another? He can't possibly vote on this. He won't know what to do. It's confusing. That's confusing. The word permanent is not confusing to our voters. That's been argued by the other side. That's not confusing. We know what that means.
Yeah, what does permanent mean, Dale?
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything according to the judge who had come in and prejudged prejudice.
Oh no, he said it means something.
Oh yeah, it means there's no such thing as a permanent tax, even though we've heard them and selling this idea to the city council. Well, don't get me started on permanent.
But the reason why there wasn't such a thing as permanent in terms of taxes is because it would have to exist and be levied against the people of the county or the city until the end of time.
That's what he said. That's what he said.
Yeah.
That upsets me. I'm going to vote for this one just for that statement, even though you didn't hear him saying you can take our word for it. That's what he said. That was incredibly stupid. Okay, I know he's a judge. Find me in contempt because I find that contemptible, that point.
I find you in contempt.
Yes, right. Yes, I am in contempt of that theory of law. That's crazy. Okay. It's crazy. This guy's not up for re-election, but Lindy Baker is a judge up for re-election. Woohoo! Yeah. Okay. So.
Does anybody know a good judge that we could have run for that position? This is the issue when it comes to judges: is who are we dealing with here?
We're only dealing with the judges. You are the court of public opinion. That's the only judges we have that we can depend on out here. And we pretty much know what your votes are going to be. We've predicted them correctly every time for the last 8 elections. So we've got a fairly good idea of what you're thinking. Obviously, we do, whether we just stumbled across it or whatever. You have decided there are certain things that you want, certain things that you don't want. The big surprise was this vote from the Grants Pass City voters, just them. And they always go along with every tax, and they didn't like this one either. They didn't like this. But the city council has to somehow, I don't know, prop up their egos. I think maybe you're right, Mike. And what they're now doing is they're saying to each other in their little protected time at the end, oh, those voters, well, they obviously don't want any kind of safety. What are you saying? Let's hear what they're saying about that.
There's a group of people that wants to blame everything on government officials when in actuality, they're not really interested in getting the foundation for most communities of safety.
Yeah. Or, you know, maybe they don't have any more money to give you. Maybe
Or
it's
maybe
that
they
because
don't
the
trust
economy.
you or what you're going to do with the money. Maybe they don't like the idea that the commissioners had said, let's keep this purposely vague. They
Right.
said that.
Or they don't like the idea of a sales tax in town because they know, it being the only town in the state of Oregon that had a sales tax, that most people are going to drive right on by Grants Pass because they can go to Merlin and buy it for cheaper, or they can stop in Rogue River depending on which direction they're going.
It's just another attempt to rebrand the city, except this time, instead of being, you know, the whatever it was that guy came up with, let's all go
Right,
rogue, not wear our underwear. This is Sales Tax City.
Yeah, they're going to rebrand them. Only this time they're going to hog tie them and burn them with a hot poker. Yes, rebrand.
You know, that's a good start, Mike. Oh, this is our new plan.
Oh no! Whoa! I'm not suggesting any thing to do to.
Oh boy, you could put that on the list of things that county commissioners should do. Not to voters, to themselves. Okay. All right. So now that he said that again, he keeps saying the same thing over and over again. What's up with that? Now that he said this again, is there a response from someone who maybe feels that law enforcement is important? Let's find out.
I doubt it.
So I want to be clear that I'm not saying that we don't want police. We want police. We want the jail. We want crime to be punished. We're a normal functioning society. So an opposition to this isn't an opposition to the police force. We love the police. They do a good job. We love the sheriff. We would like them to be funded. I just don't think this is the way to go about it.
Dan DeYoung can't hear you.
Yeah.
He's sitting right there, and all these people got up. This guy was saying it on the street. Well, okay, maybe he didn't hear that guy, or maybe he doesn't watch our show. He ought to. But, you know, here are all these people, person after person after person coming up, and you'll see more of them. They're all saying, of course we support law enforcement. We've always voted for this kind of thing, but not this. We don't like this. Oh, well, that means then that they don't like law enforcement. Dan, this is totally wrong, bud. It's totally wrong. You're making yourself feel better, but you're lying to yourself.
It's a political contest, and sometimes you win and sometimes you lose.
Well, this guy's a loser.
Yeah, well, so have a little bit of humility and deal with it in that way instead of blaming the voters. If especially in a local situation here where, listen, we're probably going to run into you in Safeway. Okay. Yeah. So the fact that you're calling us, well, not really that way. The fact that you're calling us idiots, that's a bad idea.
It's a bad idea, Dan.
The best thing for you guys to do would be go, well, that was a mistake. And can everybody here agree that we all have learned from this mistake and we're not going to do that again?
Nice.
Well, I would hope to expect that from a politician, really.
Well, now this character, along with several others, is either going to run for city council again, or he's going to run for county commissioner. Those are the two good guesses these days. Either way, I don't want somebody in there that's saying, well, the people are obviously stupid. Really?
Yeah, that's a mistake. You know, it's sad that they're in this situation where they're making this call now, where they're saying that these people are stupid now. But had they been paying attention to the people before, they could have sidestepped this whole thing, the cost of it, you know, and the work, the extra work that's involved in having a special election situation there. It costs money, okay? And they could have avoided that. They could have easily done the same thing that we did. As a matter of fact, Roy Lindsay even admitted that he went into a bunch of stores and initially everybody hated it. But after I talked to them for about a half an hour and I flogged them with it, then half of them said, okay. Well, no, probably 2/3 of them, you know, wanted you out of their store. I mean, that's probably more likely.
Literally bad for business.
Right.
Brother. Okay, next opinion.
Yeah.
I understand the gravity of the situation that we're facing here, being downtown. There's quite a bit of crime, and I've actually helped solve a few of them, and it is a lot of hard work. And they do need funds, so I'm not here saying I'm not willing to pay anything. But I have some concerns. And in the coin and gold bullion and silver bullion part of my business, on an $1,100 coin, I might make $20. Well, the city's going to make $20 too. So for me, it's a 50% tax.
They don't have to articulate an argument. All they have to do is say, no, no, no. We don't have a good argument, so we're saying no.
Nice.
Oh, well, I wasn't meaning that guy. I meant all the people who voted no on it.
Right. Thanks a lot, Mr. Mayor. I just had to throw the mayor in saying that because he's just giving you a really good reason, but they don't have any reasons. Okay.
It's so bizarre.
Now that's the tag team here. We got the mayor saying they don't have any reasons. Well, you just heard a reason. And you've got the council president saying, well, they don't want law enforcement. He just told you want a law enforcement. And you sat there and listened to them. I guess you listened to them. Well, obviously you didn't listen to them. Now that I think about it, how much listening could you be doing, Dan DeYoung? Really? How much?
You know, and this is the bothersome thing here, is that we understand watching this that we're looking at a microcosm of the problem with every single community in this nation.
Absolutely.
With probably a very few exceptions, of this kind of stuff goes on. What is it about these positions that attracts people that hate you? You know, or they get so allied with the people that they serve with that they just treat you with total contempt. You know, I mean, maybe it's pushing it a little bit to say that they hate you, although, you know, they certainly don't have any respect for you. They think you're stupid.
Well, look at this graphic over my shoulder. What does it say? Councilor DeYoung's opinion of you. He's made this very clear. Now, you know, I've always thought of him as a kind of a nice guy, but he's so totally wrong about this. Sorry?
Yeah, we didn't put the words in his mouth. He said this kind of stuff. Don't blame us here.
Yeah, well, you're highly editing this video.
This is what this guy said.
It is what he said. It is what he said.
Right.
So here's the question. Yeah. Do you want, you know, Roy Lindsay, or do you want Mayor Fowler, or do you want Council President Dan DeYoung as your governor? Well, I'm not going to listen to people. If they don't vote my way, I'm going to say they're stupid. Or do you want him as your commissioner? Well, I'm not going to listen to people. And if they vote the way I don't like, why, then I'm going to say they're not interested in law enforcement. Do you want him anymore as your city councilor? Well, the same damn thing. Dang thing. Please. Yeah. What we need, and I don't know where we're going to find them. Good luck. But what we need is we need people who will actually listen to what we're saying. You know, I had a discussion with some people yesterday, and we're saying, you know, well, how should you vote if you're, you know, in some kind of office? And there's two schools of thought. One is vote the way you want to, no matter what anybody says. And the other is represent the people. And I said, as I've said on the show many times, if the people are all geniuses or all lunkheads, I think you should go with the people. You're supposed to represent them. And you can tell them your opinion. Maybe you shouldn't tell them your opinion if you think they're stupid. That's not very good politics. But if you have no respect for them, I'm not going to vote for you again. Ever again.
Right. You know what? I think most of us, if you pay attention to what candidates do before they get in office, most of these questions are asked of them. Are you going to be in favor of a tax? Are you going to be in favor of a sales tax? You know, all of this stuff is asked of them, and they usually have answered the question, and then they have gone back on that.
Yes.
And then, you know, of course, I've said there.
Go ahead. Sorry, but there's a delay. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, as I've said many times, that the influence of this club that they're in makes them forget about the loyalties that they have on the outside of that club. And that's just a very sad thing.
Well, you have a chance to say what you think about this. That kind of thing, listening to the staff instead of to the people who elected you, maybe that makes you slightly perturbed. Or maybe it makes you mad as heck. You can vote, and we will send off emails to the mayor and to probably Mark Bartholomew, the city attorney, the one that said that they could reverse your vote anytime they wanted to. They don't need your permission. That's lovely. And Roy Lindsay, who said no, he never said that in court. You've seen the tape, you know he said it. And Dan DeYoung, who says, well, you're obviously not interested in law enforcement because you'd be voting for whatever we bring to you. He didn't quite say that, did he? But you would have voted for this wonderful sales tax. You certainly wouldn't have voted 80 to 20 against it if you were actually interested in law enforcement.
Yeah. Yep. Well, you know, that's how it goes, and I guess that again, I've said it 100 times. Do your homework up front. Watch these people, and you know, pummel them when they're not doing what you want. And which one of those was mad as heck? Heck, you know, yeah. Which one?
That'd be the one with lots of flames.
Oh,
lots of flames.
The one with the oh, gotcha. Okay.
I'm outraged is what this one is, and I'm a little bit disturbed.
Yes.
This one says, okay. Well, people often say that about me. Play the next clip.
So if you're the mad as heck one, are you going to throw Judy out of the weekly business session?
Oh yeah, because she brought that. I should have said more about that. She had actually just brought in cookies, and she was handing out a gift to each of them, which was a piece of paper that had some sayings from our founding fathers on them. You know, those Satan worshipers. And according to Mark Goins, that's what he said. He never said that. Oh man. Denial of reality. It was another one of our shows. So here they are. This one down here is I'm disappointed. And this one is, I'm not at all happy. And this one is, I'm very upset. And this one is, I'm outraged. If any of this outrages you, those are the votes. Okay, next person, please.
I was really surprised. I called Evergreen Bank Day to ask one of the staff members to see if they could research this out for me. I was curious about what percentage of people rent versus own homes in Grants Pass, i.e. what percentage of people pay property tax and what percentage of people don't because they rent, 50%. So personally, you know, of course, as a business, you get sensitive about sales taxes and you're never thrilled about them. But I also really, for our business, we want people to move to Josephine County, into the city, into the county. They buy furniture. It's good for us. And
this is gift gates.
Not enough law enforcement. I'm worried about how many people may not move here. But back to the point, I would honestly leave the safety levy in place because you're really penalizing lower income people. I assume the people renting are lower income people. It's an assumption, but I just assume that if they don't own property, they may not be wealthy enough to have the property. They have no savings. Okay, they don't pay that tax levy, so there's no savings for them. So I would recommend that we leave the 1.74, $1.74 cents in place, reduce the sales tax to 1%, keep your cap on it. I think the county residents would probably appreciate that more than 1.75. But I just worry about hitting the lower income people with a double whammy. So they pay the 1.75 and there's no savings for them.
That was back when they were debating whether it should be 1.75 or 2. Guess which one they picked?
Right.
And so
shocking.
Here's a guy that cares enough about it to say, let's not get rid of. That's what I was saying in court. What about the guys who vote for every kind of safety levy that there is, every kind of safety tax that there is? Well, what are they supposed to do when you're supposedly getting rid of 2 of them, which has nothing to do with them? It's like trying to control the weather. And so here's this other thing. I think it was kind of bait and switch, and I think most people sort of caught on to that's what it was. Okay, what's the next person have to say?
Thank you. My name's Carol Johnston, and I would like to take exception to one of the things that the mayor said, which is we folks that live in the county do care. But we have a different way of looking at things than people who live in the city. And I think you'll find that throughout every state in the country is city people vote one way and county people vote another. I think what we're most concerned about in the county, the people that we know, we want law enforcement, but we want the money that's already allocated to be spent properly, and we want it to be very transparent in the way it's being spent. And we're not seeing that. So why would we allocate more money if we don't know what you're going to do with it or how you're going to do it or whether you're going to do a good job with it? I certainly wouldn't give more to my children if I didn't know what they were doing with it or if they were doing a good job with it. So I think that's something that needs to be looked at, the transparency of how you're spending the money that you have now, the $1 million+ grant money that the department has on top of what they already have to work with needs to be very transparent, and it's not. And so because of that, a lot of us in the county, maybe not everyone, but a lot of us in the county feel that that needs to be on the plate first. Let's do some housekeeping. Let's do some cleaning. Let's figure out what we're doing with the money we have now, and we're not wasting it before we get more on our plate to play with.
Yeah. Well, you know what? This lady's making a point that I think gets made all the time, and the people in county usually reply to that with, "Oh, wait, everything is cut to the bone." And it's funny because I thought, well, you know, you think you want to take them at their word that everything really is cut to the bone, but
oh, brother, we can see it every week.
Yes, but if you go to, if you talk to people federally and say, well, you need to cut something, certainly you guys could cut some spending here, they'll claim that they're cut to the bone. How is it anybody that's living on a deficit spending schedule every year says that they can't cut anything? That really is bizarre to me, which means they have to borrow. None of us could live that way, but somehow government can live that way. And so if we can't trust those people, and we see that these people have complete contempt for us, then why isn't it reasonable to assume that they may also be withholding from us their crummy spending habits?
Well, now, the complete contempt for us is the starting place, okay? I didn't believe that about Dan DeYoung until his recent statements about this lunkhead idea. Complete contempt for us, okay? I'm not going to vote for somebody like that. Never. Now that I know how he feels, I'm not going to vote for this guy, okay? I like him. I wouldn't mind sitting in, well, I'm not going to have a cup of coffee. I don't drink coffee, but I don't mind having a pleasant conversation with him, but I'm not going to vote for him, not when I know that he has complete contempt for me. And the idea behind this is that once we get information about people, don't make a mistake the second time.
Yes. Right. Well, one would hope.
And one last thing is the city council, we heard them at the end during their protected time limit to say, people got to be more careful who they picked as their county commissioners. That's not where it stops, Mr. Mayor. It stops with you getting booted out, bud, because he was the one that said, well, even if the businesses are going out of business, we'll keep going it another year or two. Really? He didn't like the fact that you caught that on videotape, and that wasn't a gotcha moment. That's his sincere feeling. He said it to you. Look, it's not the fault of the county commissioners that these guys are doing stupid things. It's not their fault. And the county commission, well, people don't trust their federal government. That's not the problem. It's people with individual names. Cheryl Walker, Keith Heck, Simon Hare, Dan DeYoung, Darren Fowler, Roy Lindsay. Can't do anything about Roy Lindsay, but all the rest of them you can. It's up to you. If you like that kind of attitude about you, why, go ahead and keep voting for them. I don't. Say your opinion. You can say your opinion. We have to keep your identity secret because we don't even know what it is. But you can, nobody's going to retaliate against you. Can't do it. And you can say, hey, I'm not very happy about this. I'm very slightly perturbed. Okay. You can vote. Now and later, but in May, it's coming up. Go ahead, Mike. Next one.
there's a group of people that wants to blame everything on government officials when in actuality, they're not really interested in getting the foundation for most communities is safety.
I never get tired of him saying that. I personally find it outrageous, but I think it's great that we're playing him saying it, just like we did with the mayor, in between each of these people that are telling you, we do care about public safety. Stop saying that.
Well, I keep expecting him to start advocating for marijuana.
Well, you know, we had people when they were running for city councilor that were talking about things like the marijuana laws. That was Roy Lindsay. And we're saying what they would do if they were elected and there were people who kind of opposed some kind of new ordinance or whatever. And if I recall, I think that was Roy Lindsay too. And now what have they done? Well, we got to live with that guy for a little while longer. Go ahead, Mike. Next clip, please.
I ask you, please bring this community together. We need to unite, not divide, and that's what you're doing to us as a business community. Just say no. Either resolution, neither one of them works well.
Okay.
Oh, well, there's the problem. She said, just say no. She's one of those people with the clouded minds.
Nothing but no, 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 no. That's all they know how to say is no. Now she's saying, you're dividing us. You are dividing us. Now, another person who said something somewhat similar to that was, she was in the city council, and then she quit because she's running for commissioner against Cheryl Walker.
Lily Morgan.
Lily Morgan. We have a tape insert from Lily Morgan now. And here's what she had to say. And Lily Morgan is a backer of public safety. Well, yeah, she works in that area. Go ahead.
She's a parole officer.
Yep.
I would give everything I could to support that. I understand. We have a 77% retail. That's where we've ended up after our logging went away, after our construction boom industry went away. We have retail left. How do we support our local businesses? We have an economic development plan going on. We have a business advocate, or did at least. But what are they advocating for if it's a competition for businesses to be in existence here? Because if they don't have the ability in their profit margins to pass on the tax to their consumers, they have to eat it. I don't know about you guys, but we've been inundated from almost every business that's been long-term in this community saying, please don't do it. Please don't, as Colleen said, don't divide our community.
And yes, thank you very much. Although, you know, the gal from the I'm sorry,
Chamber of Commerce.
Chamber of Commerce, you know, I would like it very much if perhaps she would carry some of that compassion over to the next you know, property tax levy drive.
That's correct. They did
because
want to separate this community.
Yeah, so she feels you know, very strongly, let's not separate this community. What she's saying perhaps is the city, fine, we do it to the county all day long, you know, and
they said we were like ISIS. They said we were like ISIS.
Yes. Well, several of these people have said that they like, you know, the property tax levies are just fine with them, but the sales tax, oh no, that's bad. And you know what? Many of us who have not been supportive of new taxes have been at their back here. We had their back on these fights. Do they have our back the next time a property tax levy comes down the pipe?
Well, the part that was a little bit cut off at the beginning is that Lily Morgan had said, hey, I come from law enforcement. You know, my job even in college was campus law enforcement. And she says, so I understand why we need more money for this, and I would back it all day. I would back it all day. Mm-hmm. Now, so one of the questions we had asked her when she was on our show, I like her too, is would she back the idea of increased property taxes for law enforcement? She's in law enforcement. She's always backed it. And she just said on this thing, I would back it all day. I think what's going to happen, despite the best of intentions or whatever she's saying on the campaign trail, is she's going to fall right in with Simon Hare and back every property tax that comes along. I think so.
Yes, and despite the fact that she has said the opposite here on this program, and that she said that at this time probably not good. The problem is that I am distrustful, although she made the proper argument here when she was on the city council. I am distrustful of people who are in the staff position. She falls into the position of one of the staff people who would have been encouraging these people to do this sort of thing
for the county.
For the county,
and she's in law enforcement. What else is she going to say?
Right. So I'm like, I want to believe what you have to say, and it depends on who else lines up over there on that side as to which direction to go. But that gives me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies, because I listen. It really doesn't matter. You're not going to pass it. Nothing has changed. Something has to change. In other words, I have to feel like I have more than change in my pocket before I'm going to go, yeah, I'm going to jump on that property tax. I think maybe if the economy was going great guns, many people would say, okay, yeah, now it's time to do this. But it ought to be clear to these people, unless they're doing, show me something, maybe good faith on the part of the commissioners to put forth things. Yes, to put forth things that they understand actually foster economic development and good economy. If they would do some of those things and have some solidarity with us for a change.
Yes, that would be nice.
Then maybe we would think better of them when it came time to throw in a couple more dollars their way.
You need to vote for 2 people who, and 4 of them at the city council, and the mayor, that's number 5, and others that you feel are in solidarity with your opinions. But there's going to be, look, it's one of these situations where there's a committee that's a committee. I just hate to hear about committees, Mr. Matthews. Yeah, you can call me Dale. Look, the point is the budget committee is the most important committee that there is in county government. And the budget committee is made up of 5 people who are very, very strong levy proponents and 1 that is not. That'd be Peggy Goodwin. Now, if you get 2 people in as county commissioners, they're on the budget committee. So then you've got 3 people and 3 people.
Dale.
Yeah, you got 3 people very strongly for and 3 people against. Okay, that almost seems fair, except that's not the way the votes have been turning out recently, have they?
Sure. That's
and
right.
Then if you've got one of those 3 people, someone that's always voted in the past for property tax, you would think that they would end up being one of those 2. And what, in my opinion, we need to do is say goodbye to 2 of them, keep this one up, and keep Peggy Goodwin in there, and then have 2 more people who are neutral, if there is such a thing, or maybe voting along with you. Then there's 5-1, and the 1 is Simon Hare.
Yeah, but just. How about not recycling the same old, county insider affiliates?
Yes.
In there every single year for the budget committee. It just doesn't make any sense. It isn't logical. And it's, it's not real. It's not real fair to the people who elected you, I don't think.
This is when it comes up and Peggy Goodwin says, well, we just got all this money in. Can we take a very small part of it and see that it goes to the sheriff? Oh, no, we can't do that. What about emergency striping needs? And the rest of them went along with that.
Yeah, well, of course.
You deal with those kinds of people and you say goodbye to all of them except for Simon, because you can't say goodbye to Simon. He's still in office. When his travel gets cut back, he might decide to, okay, I'm not getting anywhere anymore and I'm going to go. All right, that's different. And then the 2 that were elected would then pick the replacement. That would be one way of doing it. I like the fact that people picked him. They did pick him over Mark Gatlin. I would have too if I could stomach voting for either one of them. But in this case, perhaps the budget committee should be made up of people that more accurately reflect, I don't know, the vote of the people. That would be nice.
No.
But you need people in there that can hear the people. Let's go ahead and next clip, please.
In the 6 months leading up to the jail contract of August 1st, 2013, where the city rented 30 jail beds, or up to 30 jail beds, to house offenders in the city of Grants Pass, we lodged about 1,566 people for crimes, which mean the more serious person-on-person crimes. And my officers issued about 510 or so citations for those things that we couldn't take people to jail for. So I went and looked at the data in the 6 months after we rented those jail beds to see what the outcome was. If you'd asked jail staff and our officers, they'd have said, man, we're running the cars off wheels, taking people to jail. But you know what happened? We actually took less people to jail, and yet we could arrest for anything that we did. 1,300 and so many people went to jail on any offense that committed a crime in the state of Grants Pass. We only issued 100 citations.
So the key word here.
That is an amazing thing.
It's an amazing thing, and he said that at a cuffs meeting.
Yeah, right. And I don't even think that he realized at the time, you're making the case against the levy here. Right. In other words, all we really had to do, we didn't really need the extra money. All we really had to do was change our priorities, change the type of people that we are arresting. And he said, admittedly, we were arresting then because we thought we have the money now, so let's go ahead and do it. They arrested the more egregious offenders, and that was very effective. They actually ended up taking less people to jail, and probably the reason is that the people out on the street realized, hey, wait a minute, they're stepping things up here. They just took Joe and Bill and Frank and Charlie. So maybe we should cut things back a little bit here
before they arrest Cheryl.
Right, exactly. This is a very, very interesting thing, and I think that our police and sheriff and listen, people that just work for the county in general should look at doing these kinds of things that are actually more efficient and cost less money to do and are more effective.
What he was arguing here was a question of perception. Even they thought that they were running the wheels off the cars. He said cars off of wheels. You know what he meant.
Yeah, but that's what
even they thought that they were, and they weren't. It was simply their perception that was all wrong.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Because these are the guys. They have the numbers. They're logging people in as they're coming into jail. How is it that their perception is all out of whack on this thing? But maybe it's just because in the morning briefing, they said, we're going to start doing things differently. And they go, bing, and their heads get into this different mode. And, then they start perceiving everything they do through that filter. It's a bizarre thing. It's very, very interesting.
When you look at the statistics, which they did, that's what we're going to do tomorrow night with Bill Hunker.
Yeah.
We've got the new statistics in. When you look at the statistics,
2014,
it showed that just wasn't true.
Yeah.
Well, now the sheriff won't talk to us anymore. Well, that's not showing what I wanted to show. Right, because the statistics don't back you up.
That's right. Well, very interesting here.
Perception. Next video.
I'm looking forward to tomorrow night because tomorrow night's very interesting.
Oh,
if you didn't hear what Dale just said, we have the new stats for 2014. Remember, we just recently got the 13 stats. Now it's the 14 stats.
Cuffs were saying, just wait for that, wait for that. That's going to totally prove you haven't waited for that. They said that about 2013. Now, you just wait till 2014 comes in. That will prove everything that we said is true. You know what? It doesn't, and they're not going to like that. So, their answer is going to be that 2-letter word.
Yeah. So what?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the next video.
Perception.
Like Tom Hart said, and Norm Jesse this morning said, it's a matter of perception. We'll be a taxed island in a tax-free state. It is a huge gamble. You're gambling with my income. You're gambling with my house. You're gambling with my ability to send my grandkids to college. Would any of you gamble your own retirement, your own house, or your own lifestyle? Because if you wouldn't, having me gamble with mine would be unconscionable. Thank you.
Well, Rob Bell is just against all law enforcement. That's all.
Yeah. And he's just one of those dumb guys, doesn't have a good argument. So he's just saying no.
Right. So we're going to end this up with, oh, finally they're done, Marge. Yeah, almost. We're going to end this with one of my favorite clips of all time. This is Roy Lindsay. So it's not Dan DeYoung saying that you're a fool or whatever. It's Roy Lindsay saying essentially the same thing. And in this case, he's making up a whole story where once again, he's the intellectual hero. And you'll see that he really does try. He sets up a cardboard opponent and then knocks it down with just 1 foot. You'll see.
Meeting hall in the parking lot, and we got to talking, and the subject of the levy came up that was on the ballot in November. And he said, I'm against it, no new taxes. And I said, well, what about seniors? They need some help and support and protection. He says, I don't care, it's their responsibility, no new taxes. I said, what about children? They need some support now and then to keep them safe. He says, I don't care. It's the parents' responsibility, no new taxes. I said, what about kids that are abused? And we've had more than one presentation that I know of about child abuse and sex trafficking of youth. And he said, I don't care, it's the parents' responsibility, no new taxes. And I said, what about kids that are abused by their parents? And he says, I don't care, it's the parents' responsibility, no new taxes. And I just walked away and I said, we'll never agree on anything.
What
That's
about
so
children that are abused by their parents? I don't care, no new taxes.
Yes.
These are the opponents in his imagination. That's you. That's what this is all about. You don't have any good arguments. This is what they think about you. Because you didn't trust your politicians. You must trust your politicians. Because you didn't trust your politicians, you are garbage of the universe. You have a chance to vote on that idea. You can vote any of these that you wish. Just forget that this one is here, okay? All right, you have a chance to vote any way that you wish. And we will see that Dan DeYoung and Mayor Fowler and Roy Lindsay get emails based on your opinions, and you won't be identified. It's your chance to say what you think. What we're trying to do is get you used to being able to have a voice without having to go to a city council meeting where they're going to be upset with you, or to a meeting of the county commissioners where they're just going to yell at you. That's what they do. Or call you names. That's what they do. That's where you live. So we're not going to yell at you. We're going to pass along your input to the people who should read the input. And we've been getting some answers from our previous shows. I don't know what you're talking about. What are you talking about? Well, I thank you very much for your feedback. End of message. So you can send us an email there where Mike is showing it, badcounty@cpros.com, or you can simply click on the flames on the side there, and you can say, you know, to us that I'm upset, I'm very upset, whatever, and we'll see that the proper people get that message, and then you know, it adds up after a while. I'd said at the beginning of this, when we were doing this goofy little thing, that, you know, we got 5 people on a show, and that's 10 per week, you know, that's 40 a month. That's a lot more than 0. Well, it's ended up being a whole lot more than that, buddy, and you've got a chance to weigh in without fear of retaliation. I think it's a good deal at twice the price.